I'm going to be talking about 7 things a man will say when he's using you, when he has no intention of really committing to a real relationship with you, but he likes all the benefits he's getting from being around you. And that doesn't necessarily mean sex. It could, of course, if you're sleeping with him. I think classically, when you think of a man using a woman, it's for some kind of physical intimacy, but it could just be spending time together, passing time with you. He could really enjoy your company. But just because he likes that companionship or being around your feminine energy or something like that doesn't mean that things are moving any closer towards that committed relationship you want. And I do want to mention that women can say these things too. Of course, this isn't about gender. Men and women both say these things all the time. But since obviously my podcast audience and my audience here on YouTube is mostly women, I'm going to be talking about this from the woman's point of view today. Also, make sure to stay to the end of this video because I'm also going to be sharing 3 things you need to do if you're in a situation where you're with a man like this who's saying some of these things. So the first thing a man will say when he's using you is, I still have feelings for my ex or another person, and I'm trying to figure things out with them. And by the way, I got most of these from the comment sections of some of my videos. I can't tell you how many women I hear from who are in this situation with a man where he's trying to figure things out with another woman. And I always say, if another woman is in the picture, that would just never feel good to me. I would never in a million years tolerate something like that. But I know it can be easy when you have strong feelings for a man to start rationalizing it and think that this connection is just so amazing that maybe it's just causing him to question things with his ex, when really in situations like that, a man is often just using the woman for an ego boost, or maybe his ex is seeing other people, so he wants to do that too. And things are often more serious with this other woman in the picture than a guy lets on, because he doesn't want to cut off the benefits he's getting from you. Let me know if you have any personal experiences with this. So again, that's the first one. If a man is saying that he still has feelings for his ex, he's not over his last relationship, and rather than taking the time to heal from that before jumping into something new, he gets involved with you because he likes the benefits that he's getting. And again, it doesn't have to mean anything physical. It could just be the ego boost or the companionship or something like that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is, I'm not ready for a relationship right now. I hear from so many women who are, involved with men who say things like this. Now, this one doesn't necessarily mean that he's using you. This could be him just being really upfront and straightforward, which is a great thing. And I do think that it's our responsibility to decide whether or not we're going to accept something like this, what we're going to allow into our life. So he could just be being honest, but if he knows that you want more and he's just letting you come around and give to him and sleep with him, and really deep down he knows that you would commit to him in a heartbeat if he was ready, to me that just doesn't sit right with me. If the situation was reversed and I were single and maybe I had a guy friend who has expressed that he was really interested and I knew that I just didn't feel that way about him, but I let him come around and take me out to dinner and buy me things and do things for me, I would feel like I was using him. That just wouldn't feel right to me. So a lot of these guys are happy to take whatever you have to offer, but that doesn't mean that you're moving any closer towards that committed relationship. So I know the tendency to just want to show this guy every single thing you have to offer, hoping that he'll somehow change his mind. But in my opinion, if a guy says he's not ready for a relationship, it's important to believe him and don't hope to get upgraded to girlfriend or wife if you hang around as a friend and just show him how amazing you are. It really doesn't happen like that. I really found when a man finds a woman he's truly feeling it for, he becomes ready pretty quickly. I hear from a lot of women who say that they were hanging around a guy for years and then he met another woman and married her 6 months later or a year later, something like that. So just be careful with that one. When a guy says he's not ready for a relationship, it's important to believe him. Number 3 is, I'm not into labels. And again, this doesn't necessarily mean he's using you. This one is something I hear a lot. This one kind of makes me laugh every time I hear it for some reason. I don't know why, but if a guy says something like, let's just go with the flow, I'm not into like that relationship title, and you've been dating him for a while, it's a clue that he wants the benefits of being with you without having to be obligated to you in any way. He doesn't want any strings attached. He doesn't want to fully commit to a relationship, but he wants all of those benefits. So of course, if you've just been dating a guy for a couple weeks, you probably wouldn't want to just jump into a relationship. It takes time to get to know someone and see how things unfold. But if you've been dating a guy for months and months and months, and again, he knows that you would commit to him today if he were ready, and he's saying some of these things, it's because he wants as much as he can get from you without the strings attached, without being obligated to you in any way. He still wants the ability to go out and be with other women if he wants and not have to be so attached to you or have any kind of strings attached. So that's the third one. Let's just go with the flow, or I'm not into labels. Number 4 is if a man flat out tells you that we're just friends or that we're not in a relationship. And this one sounds obvious, but you wouldn't believe how many women I hear from who say things like, we've been together for 5 months. He says we're just friends, but he loves me, or something like that. I hear about all kinds of things in the comment sections of some of my videos here on YouTube. So if a guy is flat out telling you this isn't a relationship, similar to number 2, it's important to believe him and keep moving forward with your life. Of course, he's going to take everything you're offering him. And like, I can't tell you how many guys I've heard in my life say, hey, I told her we're just friends. I told her this isn't a relationship, but she's continuing to come around and try to like change his mind or prove herself to him. And there's just no way on earth that feels good to her. And it also just flat out doesn't work. So number 5 is anything that sounds like, I'm not sure what I want, or I don't know if I can give you what you want, or I'm trying to figure things out. Has anyone ever heard that from a man? I know I certainly have. And the truth is that men know what they want pretty quickly. If he's the right man for you, he's going to know that he's interested in pursuing you for something serious pretty much right off the bat. So he might just like the benefits that he's getting from you without having to fully commit. So again, these guys want to take as much as they can get without giving anything. So if a guy says, I'm just trying to figure it out, I'm confused right now, I'm going through a lot, I need to take some time to figure things out, he doesn't want to commit to being with you, and he doesn't want to commit to not being with you. He's kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If I were to hear something from a man like that and I were single, I would move on. The right man knows what he wants. Men know what they want pretty quickly. It doesn't take a man years and years and years, or even several months, to figure out whether or not he's interested in something serious with you. And like I mentioned, when the right woman for him comes along, or someone who just really triggers those feelings in him, he would likely commit to her pretty quickly. So that's important. Anytime a guy says anything that indicates that he's confused or he doesn't know what he wants, I would say that's a red flag. Number 6 is an interesting one, and that is if a guy says, I don't care if you date other people. I've been getting comments like this in the comment sections of some of my videos where a guy just doesn't care if she dates other people. And to me, that's a sign that he is definitely doing the same thing. Now, again, of course, if you just met a guy, let's say you met online, it's sort of assumed that you're talking to other people, getting to know other people. But if you've been dating a guy for several months, and he doesn't care if you're dating other people, something's a little off there. I believe that the right guy is not going to want to jeopardize his opportunity to be with you. He's going to want you all to himself. So if he doesn't care whether or not you date other people, to me, it's just something's a little off there. He's just not relationship material, or he's certainly wanting to keep his options open and maybe not wanting to feel bad about that. And that brings me to number 7, and that is anything that sounds like, I'm just so busy right now, this isn't a good time for me to get into something serious. Anything that sounds like an excuse when the conversation comes up about things going deeper. Or a guy might just say that himself, like he's planting the seed to manage down your expectations. You don't expect too much from him. So anything that's like, work's really crazy right now, this just isn't a good time for me to date. But again, he's happy to take what you have to offer. He's happy to spend time with you, hook up with you, anything, even take you out. Because just because a man isn't ready for a relationship, or just because he doesn't see that with you, doesn't mean that he doesn't crave the company of a woman. So again, using you doesn't mean just sleeping with you. It definitely could if that's what's happening. But a lot of times it means just having someone around, having a woman around to cuddle with or talk to or just have that companionship. And I'm going to share the 3 things now that you should do if you're finding yourself in a situation like this with a man who you feel might be using you. And I do want to mention it's important to use your intuition too. Just because the man says one of these things doesn't necessarily mean he's using you, but it's a pretty good clue that he's not that interested in pursuing you for something serious right now. So the first thing you want to do is look for integrity rather than getting caught up in the emotional connection you have with him. I've never talked about this before, but it's really important. I know I talk a lot about the importance of an emotional connection and creating an emotional connection, right? And of course, that's very important. But what I've really found is that people, when they feel that strong attraction or connection with someone, they tend to disregard these other red flags. So you want to look for integrity. So what does that look like? That looks like a man who's reliable and dependable, and he follows through on what he says he's going to do. You can really count on him. He doesn't have a bunch of exes hanging around him that he's friends with, but they're all kind of still in love with him. He doesn't have a bunch of women hanging around that would date him in a heartbeat if he were to give them a chance, right? He has integrity. He is somebody who you could see being in a long-term relationship with, not because of how you feel for him, but because how he treats you and how he feels about you and how he's a really good person and a gentleman and he treats people with respect. I just think that's so important. So look for integrity or signs of integrity rather than getting wrapped up in the emotional connection too soon and then making excuses for him or rationalizing some of this behavior. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one because I haven't talked too much about that before. So let me know in the comment section. Number 2 is you want to keep in mind that what's truly for you will bring you clarity, not confusion. If you're in a situation where a guy is saying one or more of these things, you're likely feeling confused. I hear from so many women who just say, I'm so confused. I just don't know. It's so confusing, all these mixed signals. And with the right person, you're not going to feel confused. He's going to make his intentions known with his words and his actions. More importantly, he'll make it clear with his actions that he's serious about you and ready to move things forward. So if you're feeling confused, that's always a red flag. Of course, you can ask for clarity. You can always say, hey, I've been feeling a little bit confused lately. Is there something I should know? Or it would feel good to know whether or not we're on the same page before moving forward. All of those things are great. And his response to that is going to give you a lot of information about what he's up for and how he feels about you and what his intentions are. You want to really listen to those responses. So totally fine to ask for clarity. You can do that one time and get a lot of information. But in general, if you're feeling confused, in my opinion, that's a red flag. What does everyone here think? Let me know in the comments. And number 3 is something I've said before, and that is you want to put your desire for a great relationship with a man who's really interested and treats you well ahead or above your desire to just be with this one guy right now who's sending mixed signals or doesn't know what he wants. So basically that comes down to being willing to walk away. If a guy isn't ready for a relationship, if he just sees you as a friend, if he has other women in the picture, you're willing to walk away because your desire for a relationship that's mutual and feels peaceful and just feels good to the both of you is sort of ahead on your priority list. You're not just throwing that out the window and going after this one guy because you have strong chemistry or attraction with him, or you're focusing so much on the emotional connection without looking for some of these things and looking for signs of integrity and character as it relates to you. So you can get my free report and audio training on my website, helenahartcoaching.com. That's the first link in the description of this video or podcast episode. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.